Why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again? They vote for Trump and the other MAGA politicians only to have every promise broken, prices go up, social supports evaporate. Here's why. First, psychological wage of whiteness. That term was coined by W.E. Du Bois to describe poor white folks being paid with social status rather than decent living conditions. They're convinced by the elites that they're better than black folks, better than immigrants, Latinos, LGBTQ folks. They're convinced that being white puts them in the same league as the elites. Of course, the elites know otherwise, but the poor whites buy it because they're grasping at straws. Second, they are convinced that the people they're supposedly better than are the big threat in their lives. Not the rich, not the corporations or the politicians, but immigrants, black folks, welfare queens, LGBTQ, criminals, the usual scapegoats. Third, the elites promise protection to poor white folks. A politician comes along and says, I'll keep those people in their place, or I'll kick them out, or I'll lock them up. Or, more politely, I'll defend your values. They don't say, I'll make your life better. Well, they say it, they just don't mean it. They'll say, I'll make sure they don't get ahead of you. Fourth, they vote for the punishment, not the policy. When a law gets passed that slashes public housing or school funding or food aid, they think, good, that'll stop those lazy freeloaders. And they do some mental gymnastics that make them believe it's worth losing those things for their own families in order to see those problematic black people and immigrants and so forth being punished. It gets to a point where just seeing those guys being punished is reward enough, which is pretty sick, but that's how behavior works. Their housing, schools, and groceries are on the chopping block too, but they blame that on Biden. Always a scapegoat. They get hit by the same policies they were told would punish the others, and they blame the wrong people. The system fails them, but they've been trained to blame the scapegoats, not the cause, which is the rich people, the people they voted for. So they think the problem is still those people, not the fact that they were personally manipulated by the people they voted for. They're basically saying, I'll take the hit as long as you don't help them, or worse, as long as you hurt them. That is the psychological wage Du Bois was talking about, the trade-off between material security for racial status. And that's a crying shame, folks. One share, like, save, and comment shows that you care about white people taking responsibility for racism in America. This work is important to me, and I want to keep doing it. If you want to support me, consider a donation of any size to coffee.com/Kelly Snyder. And yeah, spelling is important. Get curious.
This woman is spitting facts. Did you all see how MAGA farmers voted for the deportations of immigrants, forgetting that those same immigrants were the ones who were working in their farms? They believed the lies of Trump and end up voting against their own interest. Guys, the truth is, voting for a billionaire to fix poverty is like hiring a fox to guard chickens. And then you are surprised when you are left with bones? This is what happens to these poor MAGA folks. Voted for Trump and then ended up losing even what they had before.
You care about that, right? You want hardworking Americans. Okay, great. Then why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris, who wanted to do a 25% down payment on a home for people that are struggling to live paycheck for paycheck? Why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris, who does not? Hold on. I'm going to tell you who's going to pay for it. That was my next point. Donald Trump gave the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in this country and his billionaire friends. Kamala Harris wanted to lower the tax bracket to 27% for income families that are making under $400,000 total income. Donald Trump is going to do the opposite, just like he did in his first administration. So I believe you, sir, David, when you say you think it's terrible that people can't afford a home, that people are losing homes. I'm with you 100% on that. Then why would you vote against your interest and vote for a guy by the name of Donald J. Trump, who does not want to give tax breaks to those that are struggling, who does not want to give a $25,000 down payment to people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck? Why do people like you vote against your own interests?
So when you're saying that she was going to tax other people, so
yes, the top 1%. The top, no, people are, no, that's not how it works. She doesn't want to give, I'm going to explain it. I'm explaining it to you. She doesn't want to give the biggest tax breaks in decades to billionaires and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Most Democrats agree with Kamala Harris that they want the rich to pay their fair share. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll tell you why. If you're making $25,000 a year, you shouldn't be paying the same percentage on taxes as somebody like an Elon Musk. But MAGA Republicans and the people, with all due respect, that you voted for, Donald Trump, do not want to change their tax bracket percentage-wise to the billionaires. You see, if billionaires paid a higher percentage on their taxes and those living paycheck to paycheck got a break on their taxes, which is exactly what Kamala Harris wanted to do, then the people that you say you're...
Those are other people paying for my house. They're paying a higher percentage.
It's not...
that money, and then
it's not... It's not... It's a... It's a... Because it's a loan, and over time you would have to pay it back. And you know why they'd be able to pay it back? Because Kamala Harris, wait for it, wanted to lower their taxes. It was in her plan that so many people, maybe people like you, said Kamala Harris, wait for it, wanted to lower.
This is what happens when people finally look past the slogans and start reading the receipts. MAGA folks are now understanding the mistakes they have made. You've heard from that MAGA guy. Many of these MAGA folks voted for freedom and ended up with eviction. I hope now they see the difference between propaganda and policy. Many of them are regretting their votes, and that should make them learn a lesson.
All right, Trump just passed a bill called "We're going to smash every American male's ballsack in a hydraulic press and then dip them in a smelting forge and make, you know, how they make swords in the medieval days. We're going to dip them into some hot molten..."
That's good for America.
I'm sorry, that's good for America, having your balls crushed with a hydraulic press, then having them dipped in molten metal, hot lava. That's what you're... How is that good for America?
Right. But as long as he gets rid of the people I don't like...
Yeah, but it says nothing about getting rid of anybody you don't like. It literally is talking about directly smashing your balls in a hydraulic press, then dipping them into a melting forge where they make metal. They're going to dip your balls. It would burn your testicles off. It has nothing to do with brown or Mexican people.
But it's good for America.
I'm sorry, what is your IQ? I just told you the bill has nothing to do with anything, with immigrants or anything. It's literally just talking about taking American citizens, voters of him, and taking their balls and crushing them in a hydraulic press and then dipping them in molten lava.
Yeah, but it's good for America.
This is so funny. It's like someone punching you in the face and then you are like, yeah, this is what I wanted. I've been looking for somebody to punch me in the face. MAGA folks are so funny.
Imagine being a teacher or a principal in a school in a red state which depends on funding, federal funding from the Department of Education, and still voting for Donald Trump. What am I talking about? Watch.
CNN analysis found the 15 states that most rely on federal funding for its public schools in 2022 all voted for Trump.
And I voted for President Trump.
I mean, you're an educator. You didn't vote for Trump eliminating federal funds.
No, I did not vote for that. I voted for President Trump to make America first again. If we have
You fell for a slogan.
Then that's going to mean bigger classroom sizes. I would lose teachers, first and foremost. It's devastating.
I don't think that anyone in our county wants to cut our school funding. I don't think that anyone voted for that.
Do you mind if I ask who you voted for in the election?
I voted for Donald Trump.
We all know and understand that red states, the education is abysmal, that they are always on the bottom of the docket when it comes to test scores, reading levels. They are horrible. And here we have two educators that know that their states, their schools depend on federal funding, depend on them, yet they didn't bother to do the basic research of what their candidate was going to do. They fell for a slogan. Instead of listening to all the times Trump said he was going to get rid of the Department of Education, that he was going to go after LGBTQ people, that he was going to get rid of DEI, that he was going to do all of these things, and looking at the bills that have been happening in red states, instead of actually doing the minimal bit of research, they fell for a slogan and thought, well, I never thought that this would happen. So I guess these red states are just going to have to pick themselves up by the bootstraps, right? Because they voted for this, and now they're getting what they voted for. All my love.
It's almost like MAGA folks are scared of people getting help, and then they end up blocking help from themselves too. They are scared of immigrants being in America, and they forget that these immigrants are the ones who are helping in developing Americans' economy. They were promised tax breaks, and the tax breaks were only given to billionaires who fly in private jets. They were disappointed that Medicare was stopped, Medicaid was stopped, and they voted for this.
Here I am once again talking about projection on the right. I took a class in college called Rural Politics, and it was just entirely about the politics of rural areas. And pretty much my takeaway from it was people in rural areas oftentimes vote against their best interest because things are so rooted in identity politics. That's not necessarily the people in those areas' faults. That's just how the politics works out there. But when the right is claiming that the left leans on identity politics and that's their whole thing, it's once again projection, because what we see on the right is pretty much entirely identity politics, especially in rural areas. If you look like them, talk like them, have lived among them, they are more likely to vote and trust you. That's human nature, no matter what their like actual policies are. So someone comes in to like shake things up, you don't fit in, and so they're not going to vote for you. Like that is the easy answer to why rural areas vote against their best interests. But I just think it's funny because they're always yelling at their left about identity politics when their whole thing is identity politics.
This might be true because I think that some MAGA folks voted for Trump only because he was white. They were not even aware of the policies he was going to come with. And that's why they ended up being disappointed. Probably those MAGA folks were ignorant about what was written in Project 2025. And they were disappointed after voting for the man who is against their own interest.
So I just saw this clip of a Trump supporter asking how come everybody who goes to college is a Biden supporter. Watch this.
I just wonder too, I mean, how come almost everybody I know of that went to college is a Biden supporter?
Yeah.
And I don't understand how everybody is a Biden supporter if you just went to college. So what are they teaching in this college? Are they teaching anything?
Stuff like inclusivity and respecting other people, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, whoa.
Smart answer.
I really like that other guy's answer there because they teach inclusivity and how to respect and treat other people in college. That's very true. But also, the question kind of answers itself. When you go to college, you're taught to analyze evidence, question sources, and fact-check claims. And all of these things don't sit well in a party that's built on conspiracy theories and culture war nonsense. It's not that going to college makes you a liberal. It's the fact that being exposed to science, history, economics, and reality makes you a lot less
very
likely
true,
to
very
fall for
true.
populist propaganda. It's not surprising at all that the more educated you are, the more likely you are to vote blue. So instead of mocking education, I think the Republican Party needs to ask themselves why they are so out of touch with people who study facts for a living.
I spoke with a Trump voter who regrets their vote, and this is a story time about how I did not behave in the best way possible. We were talking, she says, oh, I regret it so much. I was at the airport checking in, she was helping me check in my dog, and she tells me that she regrets it, that this is a nightmare what's happening, because I guess in the airport she also sees what's happening. And I told her, why? I was trying to engage, like, why didn't you vote for Kamala? Why'd you vote for him? Being a Hispanic Latina woman that she is, I'm always shocked, and I shouldn't be. I'm surprised. And she tells me, no, it's, I didn't like her laugh. I didn't like the way she laughed. And then I lost
No
my shit.
ways. You can't tell me this. So, the Latino woman decided not to vote for Kamala Harris just because of the way she laughed?
I go, but now you regret it. Because I'm sure you have family members that are impacted by this too, you know? And, you know, it's just, I behaved in a way that's not like me. I'm not that, you know, type of person. I try to be open. I try to be kind, but I couldn't. I lost my shit. I'm not proud of the way I behaved, but I couldn't stomach speaking to her anymore. And I have to check myself because that was the wrong way to behave. It was the wrong way to behave. I shouldn't have behaved that way. I should have, and it took me a bit to make this video because I was ashamed of my behavior. But I think all of us that voted the right way, that didn't vote for this nightmare, need to maybe be a little bit more understanding and open to the people that did vote this way and that regret it and that now kind of see the error of their ways. And it's easy to blame them. It's easy to just say, you know, fuck yourself because you're responsible for this. But we need to be able to bring these people back into the fold, or else this is never going to change, you know? So I doubt you'll ever see this because I'm not that big on TikTok, but if you do, ma'am, I apologize for the way I yelled at you and for the way I behaved towards you when you told me that, because I could tell in your face that you felt regret about it. And I should have behaved with grace, and I didn't. And I behaved poorly, and I apologize for that. And let's try and have a dialogue with these people that are now seeing the light, that, you know, they didn't expect these type of, she says, I never thought he would do this. He said he was just going to deport criminals. And, you know, just thinking about the shit she says gets me angry, but she's changed her mind. And now she wishes she had voted for her. Now she wishes she had voted differently. And I know you can't cry over spilled milk, but our behavior towards them needs to, at least the ones, not the ones that are still in the cult, but the ones that are coming out of it, we need to welcome them. And we need to realize we need them in order to hopefully change things in the midterms. And my behavior didn't help that, because I'm sure I looked like a crazy, deranged person when I was, you know, losing my shit on this woman. But I was angry, and I know we're all angry, and I know we're still angry. But if we start behaving with a little bit more grace, then and a dialogue, then maybe we can have some change, because we need everyone united. And I think when, you know, hopefully people start waking up now that this isn't a right versus left thing. This is a top versus bottom thing. You know, this is literally the oligarchs and the billionaire class versus everyone else. And newsflash, you're not an oligarch and you're not a billionaire. I know a lot of you MAGA cultists like to think, oh, I'm with them and I'm going to be one of them one day. You're not. So stop, you know, licking their boots so much. That's it. That's my story. I just, like I said, if this woman's out there and sees it, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm glad you see the light, and I hope you vote accordingly from now on. And please forgive my hair. I'm growing out my grays, so it looks kind of shitty now. But I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Let's have some grace, and let's not, you know, go with our gut reaction, which is, you know, telling them, what the fuck were you thinking? Let's be understanding, and let's remember that not everyone is as informed as we'd hope they are. And I think a lot of people are getting more informed now because of the consequences of what's happening. That's it. That's my story. Hope everyone has a nice day. And let's have some grace.
Shout out to this woman. But at the end of the day, the question remains, will the poor white folks stop voting for their oppression just because it's wrapped in a flag or a Bible? It's not about Democrat versus Republican anymore. It's about survival versus illusion. And too many people are still choosing the illusion. I don't say it out of hate, I say it out of hope. I hope people finally realize that No political party is your friend just because they say what you want to hear. Watch what they do when they are in power. Help me to answer this question. Will the poor white folks keep voting against their own interests? Let me know what you think down there in the comment section. And that was it for today, guys. Mr. TA signing off.